I didn't love myself, and you give power and influence to the wrong people. Look how it turns out. You have to hide yourself from nobody else on the external side that you love. You have Okay, now let's see. And we're on. Welcome, 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 everybody, back to another episode of Ascension with V, but like kind of on a different twist. We're doing a live collaboration with my good friend, Dr. Val Rytova, behavioral neuroscientist, and she's gonna come in and give her expertise on the things that she's good with, and I'm gonna blend my expertise on the things that I'm good with spirituality, and we're gonna do a whole flow of neuroscience and spirituality and all the things. And so I'll let Dr. Val go on and give her a little bit of spiel if you guys do not know her. And let's get into it.
Yay, awesome. Thanks so much for inviting me to this live. And I'm excited to be here and talk all things neuroscience, spirituality, and anything else like that. And also answer any questions that people who are watching or will be watching may have, because I'm very much, my intention is really to bring the neuroscience out to the people. That is, in fact, what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because in my career as a neuroscientist, I found that it was very, very hush-hush. Things stayed really within the lab or within the institute or within the particular groups of neuroscientists and never really got out there unless, you publish in a scientific journal, but then no lay person, like normal person, is going to go read scientific neuroscience journal and understand it. Yeah, you may read it, but it's like you're not going to understand the jargon or any other stuff in there or the pictures. So that's why I'm like, no, I'm bringing this thing out to the people where it's going to make the most difference. And you can see it because people are hungry for this. Like if you look at neuroscientists like Huberman or like a bunch of other neuroscientists that are coming out that are speaking to the public about neuroscience, and people really want that and they love that. And so that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Awesome. So speaking of the neuroscience thing, what do you feel like is the most taboo thing amongst logical, very academia type centered colleagues or people that is just unfathomable to grasp?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I haven't really revolved around that crew for a while now. But if I think right now, I really couldn't tell you because the people that I speak to, even if they are scientists, they have this depth to, and at least inclination and curiosity about realms beyond the 3D. But from memory, so, when I was in the lab, this is 2021, so like 4 years ago, and I don't talk to any of my fellow, or I guess, former co-workers in a way. I just speak to my friends that maybe still work within the lab, but still, the ones that I talk to they're like me, you know what I mean? So I don't know, but the most taboo thing is probably that, that there is stuff out there beyond the 3D, like that there's spirits, and like people would probably think it's anecdotal, or at least they say so. It doesn't really come up in the general conversation when you go to a neuroscience conference, like, oh, let's cleanse our energy before we go mesh with all these people at this neuroscientific conference. Yeah, that people don't do that.
Right. I think some of the things that I find fascinating, especially when, you and I first met, was your curiosity of not only just the curiosity, but your openness to indulge and delve into what are the things of spirituality I need to know more about, the things that happen with beyond the things of science. And when you mentioned the cleaning of the energy thing, I think that's also something that needs to be honed in on even more so, because I think a lot of times we think that there's only things that we need to do that's just practical speaking. But if you take care of your body in every other kind of way, like you take care of your physical fitness, you take care of your emotional well-being, you take care of your mental well-being, but like for whatever reason, the spiritual component seems like the part that's always the biggest missing piece, but, like, that plays a huge, crucial role in your well-being as a whole part of the pie. If you're not taking care of your spiritual well-being, everything else is off kilter as well, because it doesn't matter if you're following the best yoga or dietary methods, or if you're taking all of your prescriptions to make sure that you have the serotonin and you're not in depression and you're not, but, like, if you're getting attacked on the spiritual front, like, and you're still in the middle of spiritual warfare, everything else is for naught, really honestly. Like, you're still going to be bogged down, you're still going to be weighed down with, and really heavy, dense, negative energy that can plague you. And then not only that, but you have people don't realize this, but there really is a whole spiritual warfare that is at play every single day. Every single day. It's a fight for your freedom of your soul. It's a fight for your freedom of your mentality. It's a fight for your freedom of your sovereignty of your whole entire energetic being. Like, we are spiritual beings, but we're having a human experience. And yeah.
tuned to that. And I mean, a lot more so now that I've left the science world, even though I was always inclined to this kind of spirituality, always, like always. But, if you speak about it from the point of view of, let's say, a discipline like numerology, which some people think is woo, but to me it makes sense. Pythagoras invented a subtype of numerology. He was a mathematician. To me, I'm like, dude, that's science. Every energy,
Right.
every number has an energy, right? Not every people, not, a lot of people wouldn't agree with it, but that's okay. That's just my experience, right? But I'm an 11-2 life path, which is the psychic, the visionary, the creative. So I'm not surprised that I was always kind of into it. And, I spent a lot of my professional career, if you will, in the sciences, but examining things that we cannot see. I did a PhD in behavioral neuroscience, studying anxiety, fear-related behavior. But if we talk to people, like, show me anxiety, where is the
Where
same?
is it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess from that respect, I was always inclined towards the spirit world, but I'm not an energy worker per se, like you are. Where I literally work with energy. I mean, we all work with energies in one way or another, but I'm a neuroscientist that is very attuned, aware to the spiritual reality. And another thing I wanted to mention was that science tries to, and does sometimes, explain a lot of phenomena,
Right.
pathologies, behaviors, weather, right?
Yes, yes,
Science tries to explain all of that so it makes sense to our human brain, and we kind of feel like there's some sort of certainty, yeah, which is an illusion anyway. But
yes,
nonetheless, part of science does do that. And it's kind of cool. Like, it's kind of cool if you think about when you're a kid, you want to explore things. And I think I've said this before, but the basic principle of science is this, like, curiosity of, hey, look at this leaf. Oh my gosh, how is it a leaf? Like, what's the structure underneath? Like that the
yes,
fascination of it. But still, you're looking at something that's physical and then trying to figure out what the heck, right? But you know how people turn to spirituality when they've tried all the treatments that, like,
yes,
just don't work
exactly.
anymore? They're
Yes,
like,
yes.
there must be something out there. So I really
Yes,
wanted to touch upon that because, as much as I love the scientists that I used to work with, well, at least some of them, not all of them, yeah, let's be clear, but there's a limitation to it because science can't explain everything.
right, exactly.
Oh, and we do see this. Like, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, bullshit. But no, no, no. When you've done, let's say you're really unwell and you've done everything that's possible to do to get well, you're going to turn to things that are quote unquote spiritual. You will,
Exactly,
because you're going
exactly.
to do everything to help yourself or another, right? A loved one.
Mhm, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I feel like that's exactly kind of how my story, especially dealing with, like, the medical situation of things, I was absolutely that phenomenon in the regular medical world where I was up at one of the best research schools and hospitals, in America, and a lot of them were like, "We don't know what this is." And again, at that time, I was coming into a lot of my gifts and abilities, and I started getting closer and closer with God Source Universe and being able to hear myself and hear my intuition and hear my guides. And that was when like my whole process of getting off of medication started, was because I was hearing like, "This is making you worse. These things are making you worse, and you have to come off of it." And again, trying to explain to doctors, like, "How do you know this, and why do you think this is the thing that's affecting you, and why do you think that's a thing?" And when you just say, "It's just my intuition, and it's just my spirit, my soul is telling me that this I can't do this anymore." And they've, like, put me on suicide watch, like, it's just there, but then yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then after now here I am 3 years afterwards, I have doctors now reaching out to me like, "How did you do this?" Man, I told you. I listened to spirit and I started doing spiritual work to heal my chakras. I started doing a lot of research into the chakra system and realizing and a lot of my chakras were broke, like shattered, from all the things that I had gone through. This is 20 years of trauma and abuse and just things that really do have an impact on your mind, body, and soul as a whole. And the chakra work really was the biggest thing that started doing a lot of my healing. But again, that's spiritual, that's like in the realm of spiritual work. No doctor that I went to was like, "Have you checked your chakras? Do you check your chakras? Do you think maybe you have a chakra blockages? Have you done any sort of shadow work to do any kind of trauma purging and work on things that might be gnawing away at you from the inside out, from the spirit out? Did you have you tried that?" Like, nobody in the physical gave me that kind of advice. Like, that came straight from God Source Universe, and it takes courage to follow through with that kind of guidance and things. It does. It takes a lot of courage and unwavering faith to listen to, again, something that you can't see. You can't see it. None of my spiritual help or guidance, none of my help that helped me heal is physical. Like, they not here in the physical. You know what I'm saying? And so this is like, I feel like this is the biggest proof to give to anybody, when people question things of, can you heal, or can you do things beyond what can be proven or seen with the physical two eyeballs? And like, yeah, you can, but you gotta let your mind open enough to allow yourself to go there.
Yeah. Oh, wow. When you were talking, there's like so many little questions and like avenues, we can call them
Just
tangents,
tell me.
that's in my mind. So let's just go through a couple of them at least.
Yeah.
Unless people are like busting, you need to tell me because I'm not watching the other, like if people are popping questions or anything, because I do want to get to the people as well, because otherwise we'll just talk for like 3 hours, you and me. But anyway, the one thing that I wanted to say is it's important to um, to look at both, right? Look at both. And that's where I appreciate your, not only the way that you're doing things and you do things, but you look at an ailment, let's say, like a physical dysfunction or a psychological dysfunction, and you can discern that, okay, there's something off here, but you're ready to kind of tackle it from both the 3D world, other dimensions. I'm just wary of people that are like, part of religious, like religion that, would never go to a doctor. It's like they have a gangrene, they need to
Right.
amputate a leg, and they're like, no, this is a spiritual issue. We're going to pray on this. That is insane, okay? That is like, I, I know it's kind of an extreme example, but people do
But
that.
it is real. It is real though. Yeah.
That as well to me is like no, just no, and
Right.
not because I'm a neuroscientist, so based in 3D, but just listen, use your brain, okay? Like just common sense. If a person needs to amputate their leg, and if it's a life and death thing, you need to give them support. And the medical system, see the goodness of it. I know it's not really a good system, but it does specialize in attending to emergencies.
Right, exactly.
Life and death thing right there and then. Our medical system currently is pretty good for that. Is
Uh,
actually like,
yes.
know,
Yeah, like, this is something that needs our actual fit yeah, I will give that. Yeah, that is a thing, especially if you again, like, if you've essentially had a run-in with a chainsaw and you go into the emergency room, immediately, they act on it. They're good with that, but, the things of again, going back to, like, my scenario, things of where it doesn't fit, like, full standardized things, like, is it when it doesn't meet the regular status quo of things, when it doesn't meet what they're used to seeing and it doesn't fit the normal bill, that's when it's kind of like the more difficult streams to navigate and, and nobody again, in my 20 years of dealing with healthcare or traditional doctors and things, like I've not met anyone, that's been like, "So have you tried it this way?" I've I've not, and I I don't know.
and yes, but that also makes sense because even if you like, I've got friends who are nurses that work in, in hospitals. I would never work in a hospital, but listen, they work
Yeah,
in hospitals. Okay, just but let me tell you, they'll be watching a patient and like they see a spirit in the room with the patient on the monitor, right?
right.
And then my friend literally told me this the other day. She would see, then she called over another nurse and said, listen, I don't want to go into that room. There's something in that room. Can you see that? And the other nurse would confirm, yeah, oh, yeah, there's something in that room with that patient. Right? I could see the
Yes.
thing on the monitor, but we can't tell anyone because we're going to lose our jobs.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, oh, yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, there have been a number of times, again, when I had my colon taken out in 2015 and I was in the hospital for almost 3 weeks, there were so many things that, like, I watched come in and out of, like, the hallways, but, like, again, they knew from go that I was already on one. So like I was like, "Hey, listen, y'all might want to do something about the dark entity across the hall that's feeding on the guy in room 329. Like, I want to handle that or you don't hear him in there screaming. They talking about it's just because he has schizophrenia. No, bro, he does not have schizophrenia. Like that's why this lady, she was a Yoruba. She was from Africa, and she was one of the nurses in there. And she was like, "No, no, I'm not going. I'm not going," because she could see. She knew. She
Yeah.
knew. I was like, "Why? Why are these? Why are those two nurses afraid to go in there and you talking about, "Oh, it's just because he has schizophrenia." No, man, he does not have he sees exactly what's over there crawling up towards him. Like, he
Yeah.
just
Yeah, and there is. I recently read. I mean, this is just another example, but I read this thing where a psychiatrist and a
Mhm.
team of other psychiatrists checked themselves into the psych ward pretending they were patients. Okay,
Mm.
and I think it was for up to 3 months. They were
Wow.
yeah, they were fully admitted and treated as patients with psychiatric disorders, even though they had none. Okay, they just reported a couple of symptoms like hearing voices, I think, and they got checked in. And they stayed in there, and the people on the inside, the other actual patients, noticed that these people were actually just normal people, whereas the doctors themselves couldn't tell the difference. They're so within that system where the only thing they see is, oh, you get okay, yeah, you're done. So crazy, right? So it's like anyone could be checked into the psych ward, including the psychiatrist, knowing full well that they've got no psychiatric condition.
Issue. Yes.
So that's like
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, and I feel like I see that frequently, especially in my room. Like I see a lot of people that again, and I feel like the lines get blurred here frequently because it's not everybody that has like spiritual gifts uh, has a mental disorder and vice versa. Do you know what I mean? But like
Yeah,
I do see it very frequently where there's just like a lot of really really gifted people who they just don't know that they have these gifts and that they are gifts and abilities, and they don't wanna tell people because of the aforementioned that they don't wanna tell people for the aforementioned things, but, like, the suppressing of their gifts is essentially weighing them down, like, it's like putting them into a depression, and so, like, I see a lot of people, not just, like, physically when I'm awake, but, like, when I'm doing things while I'm asleep and I meet with people, there's a lot of people who this leads into, like, another topic, but, like, I see a lot of people who have been detached from their bodies because they took something to try to escape their physical reality. Do you know what I mean? Like, they took a bunch of DMT or they took a bunch of acid or, like, something, do you know what I mean? But, like, now they're lost out into the spiritual realms, and then while I'm out doing my things, I've come in contact with a lost soul, literally like, a lost soul. It's, like, sad because, again, these are people, a lot of them, they're very special, like, very gifted people, but they haven't been able to express their gifts and abilities, and so they go into, like, a depression. I get that, but trying to do the escapism thing by means of really, really harsh drugs is not the way either because you don't have any control of your body, and then now you're just out there lost in the dimensions. You can't fully anchor back into your physical body, and then not only that, but your physical body is now susceptible to entities, parasites draining and feeding on your physical vessel. So it's like a snowball effect.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not a good vibe at all. I wanted to say actually, I just wanted to speak to that in terms of, I mean, people say being grounded, like a thing, like they flang that whatever word around, but you know what I mean? Like you actually have to be grounded enough in your physical vessel.
Yeah.
What works, no, what doesn't work, before experimenting with things like astral projection. Hey, you know what? I've experimented with what is it called? DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which is it's an innate substance that's produced within the body, and some of it's produced by the brain, most of it's produced by the lungs. It peaks at birth and at death. Okay, and then yeah, people synthesize the thing. It's also the active ingredient in the ayahuasca journey. It's actually dimethyltryptamine, right? That's in that plant that's released into the body. Now, when if you do that, but you have no grounding, no expertise, and you do it with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, like that's so dangerous.
Right.
That shit is rampant these days, and it's so scary, but it's rampant. So I wanted to talk about, actually, actually actually bringing a lot of discernment to who you're working with, or being, because they're using DMT as in the clinics now. They're testing it just like MDMA, just like ketamine, just like all these compounds, chemical compounds against to treat things like anxiety, blah blah blah. Like this is all now going into the clinic. Okay, which is like scary as well.
Right, like,
Yeah. I know it's such a vast world of insanity. But what I want to say before I get carried away into the ether myself is you got to get grounded. I'm not saying go and get a PhD, but I'm just saying
know
you
the
got to
basics.
you gotta know the basics at least and know who you're working with. Like I've worked with a lot of people, that maybe I shouldn't have worked with, and I learned my lesson,
Right.
in the long run, like with the type of kind of healing and the aftermath
No, exactly.
in neuroscience. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and I mentioned that in my astral projection video, is that it's like a lot of people, they kind of do the thing that we mentioned earlier. They run out of the logical answers of things, on the medical field, or they're experiencing their tower moment, and so they're like, "Oh my gosh, my reality is kind of crumbling," and they're trying to cling to anything to try and, like, help them make sense of whatever it is that's taking place. And so, like, there's like this flailing process that takes place in this moment after you've had your first, like, tower moment and like shock to the system of awakening, right? Like you no longer see the life as it used to be, but you're like definitely nowhere near the ground, the level point of the new world, right? Your new existence. But so while they're flailing, they're like looking for anyone and anything to try and like bring them into, I guess, the ascension. I don't know like the best word to say here for it, but to help them speed through the process of their spiritual growth as quick as possible. And everyone in the spiritual community is aware of this huge niche of people. Like it's like a large audience of people who are looking and seeking for these kinds of retreats or these kinds of people who like quote unquote offer, these things, and they always have some kind of like crazy title to them of like I'm a third generation, Himalayan priest or priestess, and, like something of this nature, that sounds good. It sounds alluring, and they know what they're doing in their words. Very good, good, very good with words. Just like a lot of, look, I'm gonna be petty here, but just like a lot of the darkest entities know the Bible verse as well. Anyways, but
The science world, the politics world, it's all like it's just different reflection of the same kinds of, I'm gonna call it, behaviors.
yes,
Whether
exactly.
spiritual community or like, a doctor with 50,000 credentials that
Right.
ultimately is an evil person.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They know what sells. It's these people are leading like so many of these retreats and things, and but they have unclean spirits. They have unclean spirits, and they too don't have like the basic foundation of how they should be for themselves. Let's start with it there, because that's really where it starts. Like you shouldn't be leading anybody or doing any kind of this sacred work or journey when your own vessel is not clean. Like
Hmm.
when you're not rooted in the ground, and you're not of a pure mind, heart, and soul and spirit, like you don't need to be touching other people. You don't need to be leading other people. You don't need to be praying over other people. Like is don't put your raggedy ass energy out to other people. Like it is bad. So they're opening up this like portal within these people's energies, within their souls, within their vessels, and leading them down a journey that essentially opens them up to having any kind of parasitic attachments, negative entities. There's a negative spirit that I named it. It's like the having a monkey on your back type of situation. It literally will latch on to you, and it's very slowly drains your energy out. Like it's a like a slow drain, but like it's
Yeah.
always riding around in your, and that I see so frequently from a lot of people because this is what they've done, and they've had Joe Blow from a cereal box who got his certification from the cereal box out here leading them down this path, and I'm like, "What's happening? What are y'all doing?"
Totally. And it's so important because this is my question to you. How do you, as people do, that's just what's happening in the world. People are becoming more aware, attuned to, and with the fact that there's this whole world that we can't see, this, spiritual world.
Yeah,
And if they can't see it or feel it, I know to a certain extent we all have these gifts, but some more than others. But if they have never practiced it, like they can't. That's the vulnerable people that will go to just anybody. So how do
absolutely.
what would you recommend? Like, hopefully some of these people will listen to this video and be like, oh my God, I need to do my research because I'm not going to go get my dental work done with a person with my shoulders. Why would I get my spiritual work done with those kinds of people? and what are the quote unquote credentials to look for?
I say it a lot, like, it's really difficult, if not next to impossible, for people to navigate and see through the kind of facade and illusions that people are putting on if they don't have their heart chakra open, because that's your sonar. That's the thing that's going to be able to detect or ping, like, something's not right here, but, like, if you don't have that open and you're not at that point yet, the best thing that I can recommend is at least do your own due diligence of your own full like research. Don't just go, hey, their ticket costs $800 to join this, so it must be, or don't just be like, oh, they have 40,000 reviews from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, you know what I'm saying, that are they went and did it, so, like, it's gotta be. But if you're reading through something and something, just even if it's anything, just one thing doesn't feel right about it, it's not right. It's not right, like, you don't even have to have your heart chakra open for your sonar to be activated for you to get that ping. If you look at something and you read it and anything within you says, even if it's just a little bit, don't override that because it doesn't make logical sense. Because you don't have the tangible proof to say, like, oh, well, just because I feel like this might not be the best thing for me, the reviews and everything else says, that it's great. Like, don't override your intuition, your gut feeling just because you can't logically, tangibly explain what it is that you're feeling. I see that so frequently. Like a lot of people will, because they can't explain it physically, or because they don't have physical proof of something that they just know, or they just tell that something's not right about a person, and they dismiss it because they don't have that physical proof. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like if you are thinking about going to a retreat, or you're thinking about doing, any kind of spiritual journey with any kind of like plant medicine or something, whatever the case may be, like, always, number one, do your own due diligence and research. Don't just go off of what other people have said about it, or what your friends think, or what the reviews say. You do your own thing. And as you're doing that own research, again, please pay attention to how you feel while you're doing the research. If you get any kind of weird vibe, if something feels off, if your heart feels like you're having a panic attack while you're reading it, if you start getting the jitters or the shakes, or you feel uneasy, like, these are your subtle cues that we often dismiss because we don't have any like physical tangible proof of it and we're trying to logic it out. Don't dismiss that, especially if you're gonna do something like this isn't just like a light thing. It's not just a fun thing. It really is a big deal, especially from the spiritual standpoint. Also, before or if you do these things, make sure that you're at least trying to protect your energy with some obsidian. Wear some obsidian, like on a bracelet or something, while you're on this retreat or while you're going. Keep some tourmaline and selenite on you while you're going to these things. So even just on your physical vessel while you're doing it. So even if you do go and you do get like a shoddy person, at least your physical vessel is not going to bring something back with you because you have that protection. But again, if anything seems weird about a person, place, or thing, just anything, don't ignore it. That's the best advice I can give.
And that's great. And I can back that with neuroscience because, see, when you do get an intuitive nudge of, oh, something's off here, some people just say, oh, that's my gut feeling. Okay, so from the point of view of neuroscience, your brain, okay, is constantly scoping for threat. That's the design of our brain, okay? It'll
Right.
constantly scope for threat. And even if you can't name it, okay, just like a lot of people can't name the emotion that they're feeling, that's okay, we're learning, we all are. But just because you can't name it and you have this feeling or intuitive feeling like something's off, that's your brain telling you, hey, I've scoped this out. This is an actual legitimate threat based on past experience. The brain's a prediction machine. Okay. Now, another thing is mirror neurons. I've said this in a little blurb before, but we have these neurons in our premotor cortex, a couple other areas. I'm not going to go technical. Bottom line, they're called mirror neurons, and their whole function is to mimic the person in front of you. So that's why a baby will smile or coo when a mom, when a mom presents that behavior, or when within the research setting, a monkey will start mimicking the researcher by holding whatever they're holding and like pressing the same buttons. It's literally, or with sports teams, whenever your team's winning, you feel like you're winning. Yeah, that's your
Oh,
mirror
yeah, yeah,
neuron.
yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah.
The people that you're watching. But see, a lot of people don't know that the mirror neurons actually pick up on the nervous system state of the people that you're watching. To us, we're like, ooh, the air is heavy or the energy is off. Okay, that may be true, but I can't see their aura. What I could tell you is my mirror neurons are sensing the nervous person of that person is dysregulated. And that's a valid cue neuroscientifically for me to be like, no, I'm not working with that person.
Mm, yeah.
No, they're not well. Not
Yes.
well. Cases, not well.
Yes. Yeah, that's like your clairsentience, you know? It's like you're having the ability to feel other people's energy or what they've got going on. That's the sonar, kind of what you said, it's scanning the things. It's like your sonar is out there and it's picking up some it's picking up some raggedy energy and it's like, I don't know about it.
Exactly. Or if you get heart palpitations, yeah, that's adrenaline. That's your adrenal glands producing the stress hormone called cortisol, which is, not an ideal scenario when you're with someone. Like, I'm
Right.
talking about even like within the clinical setting, like some therapists are not a match.
Literally though.
And that's your cue to walk out of that room and be like, hey, yeah.
This ain't it. Yeah, exactly. That this ain't it. Yeah, and I think that's also something, so with what Val was saying, if you're reading over something or you're looking at going and doing a thing and immediately you start getting the palpitations, you start getting the jitters and something just doesn't feel right, like don't ignore that, really honestly. It's subtle cues, but it is a cue that's saying something's not right. Something's not right. Do not proceed.
Exactly. And I want to jump to another topic before it slips my mind. After 2020, after the pandemic, everything that happened, there's a lot of distrust in the medical community from the public. In my
Yeah.
experience, which is fair enough, right? And there's also that, like somebody who I do have a PhD in neuroscience and I did, postdoctoral studies, and I could tell you that that wasn't for nothing. I discovered things within that time, not just like bookworming, learning terminology, but like I went to the depths of how the limbic brain works, our survival mechanism, what works, what doesn't work, the kind of molecules involved. Like there's a depth to me understanding how that works and how human beings work as a result of my examination or exploration throughout my PhD. And that is valuable, but not everybody that holds a PhD or has some sort of a degree means well. I give that
That
part too. Mm.
facts. Yeah, and again, like I think I mentioned this while I think it was about like a year after the pandemic where I said, "Oh, there is a huge shift, a split that has happened within the medical field and community of where I mean, like you could almost see the very clear divide where you had those within the healthcare community that wanted to actually help and were trying to do good, and you had those who were there to harm, and that's it. And it's still that way. I mean, but, like, it's still very much there, and you can detect, like, I mean, I can see it, immediately, and I went through a whole lot of changes over the last 7 years within, places that I had care at and places that I was going to physical therapy at, or places where I had alliances that no longer are alliances anymore, and the drastic change between it. It's a little shocking. It's a little alarming. It's interesting to see when you have the two opposites that come together like in one place, one that's really trying to screw you and one that's really trying to save you. You know, I had a doctor try to do me dirty and another doctor swooped in and caught it on the rebound, you know, like in real time. And so it's interesting. It's very shocking to say the least.
It is. So again, it does come down to personal discernment. And I do wish that people kind of do the due diligence, as you say, and the research and the personal evaluation and the work on themselves that's required to really, make the call of whether to work with someone or be in their care and to what extent as well. There's boundaries or limits within which, when I go to my chiropractor, she's amazing, right? She's really amazing. And like, just based on her numbers and blah, 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 I know she's psychic. I know she's a healer and like, whatever, but I'm not going to storm in there and be like, hey, just like, oh, I'll just let her do her job. Like, which is to, adjust my spine.
Just do my neck. Just do my neck. Just do my
Pretty
neck.
much. Pretty much. So I think in that sense, yeah, my sonar system, as you put it, like I fully get the scope of the everything she brings energetically, even if we don't call it that way or we don't talk about it that way, like I'm pretty clear.
Yes.
Yeah, but then again, I'm not going to be going to her for energy cleanse in that sense, you're my person for that. So I'm just like,
Right. So you also mentioned the numbers thing. I had somebody that earlier had put in a question for me about how numerology and spirituality play a part in both. I think they're being how does that overlap? But so the numerology thing is interesting because it's funny, you're always like numbers don't lie and like facts though, like but actually facts. So can you kind of divulge a little bit on the numerology thing? So like mine, yours is also the 11-2 thing, and then you mentioned mine having the 11-2
yeah, that
thing.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you dive into that?
Sure, I can speak to that. Look, I'm not a neurologist, but I've done extensive research on it, and I think I know more than most people about it. So I'll just speak from that. I did educate myself from a master neurologist and stuff like that, who was actually a close friend of mine. And what I've found in my research is that there is an actual frequency energy to the numbers that you're born with. So your birth date, the actual date, the year, the compiled thing, if you add them all up, it ends up as a life path number, which is like the path that you walk, your soul is meant to walk here in this 3D reality. Without fully going into teaching you a PhD on numerology, I'll stick to basics. There is an energy, an energetic frequency to each number. And so the numbers that you're born with, including every single letter of your birth name, okay, they also
Yeah.
add up to the thing. And then there are phases through which you go in life. Like we all have our personal years. And there is a trend to it. Like if you look throughout history, throughout time, you will see a trend to the energy behind the numbers. When we speak of an 11, the number 11, okay, being it's a double digit number, it's 1 and 1, but 1 plus 1 is 2, okay? And 2 is the frequency of love, balance, that kind of support, being, and that's my life path, okay? And I can see that. I can see that play out throughout my life and like how I am in that respect. And for you, right, if you add up your birth date, it winds up being a 5, right, which is like the freedom the fast movement, like the person
Yeah.
that's ahead of the game most of the time. Like, no wonder you need. And actually, I've noticed a lot of people with the kind of abilities that you have are five life paths, or people that are like revolutionary thought thinkers are five life paths. They're sort of like outside the scope of life as we know it. But then if you look at your individual, with your personal year numbers, as you said, or you were when you were born, we have a lot of 11 twos all throughout that, which is the psychic number, the visionary, the psychic. It's like, no surprise, you're doing kind of like that you're doing. But yeah, in the research that I've done with me within the field of numerology, very much represents the type of energy that is present either throughout your life or different parts of your life or your personality or even how you behave in relationships. So from that perspective, I see the connection between the number, like which is quite mathematical, really. You know, the guy that did invent that type of numerology, Pythagoras, was a mathematician.
Yeah.
But then the energy behind it is, I think, where the spirituality comes in, right? Which is like
Right.
we talk to me about the frequency of love. I don't, you can't really talk about it unless you're interested in the energy.
Yeah. Or okay, so numerology and the angel numbers. So like that's my room is like the like angel numbers. That's like my thing. So like 5, like if you see 555, that's like change, right? Like rapid changes taking place, or like 444. So it's like you have your angels and guides that are there like providing protection for you. You are protected and safe around these things. Or 333 or 33 is you having the support, right? So like, or 111 is like new beginnings. But do you feel like that is balanced, also with numerology, or no? Is like, do you feel like there's differences between the angel numbers and numerology?
Yeah, I mean, again, as a person that's delved into numerology, but I can't necessarily see the energies attached to the numbers. I'm gonna say it that way, or that not attached, but the energy that goes
Right.
with it.
Of
I can't see it or feel it the way that you. I just know it because I've learned it.
right.
The five, yeah, it's the energy of change, fast movement, travel. That's what I know it as.
Yes.
Four is foundations. Four is the energy of integrity, foundations, breakdowns that lead to breakthroughs. But ultimately, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger is a life path four. Like that
Yeah.
guy's that gives you the scope of like the
Right.
foundation, like that energy, right? The threes are usually the intuitives, the teachers. They'll take you under their wing. But also the creatives.
The creators. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and the ones are always the pioneers, the leaders, the like initiators. So that
Right.
goes with what you said. And then I remember a while ago you were like, "Oh, if you see a 144, that means it's time to rest." And then I literally saw it on a garbage bin that same day, and I was like, "Okay." And
Yeah.
then when you add up 1 + 4 + 4, that is 9, which is the energy of healing. So it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I need the rest. So it
Yeah,
all comes together.
yeah, that's interesting. And again, you had you had brought up something the other day about like, oh, did you notice the number? And like, I look at some things and sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. But a lot of the time, we had a message that came up that said, "I've been seeing 144 heaps." Like, yeah, it means it's time. It's time to rest. It's time to rest. Slow down. What did you say? You added up to a 9, Val?
Yeah, it's 1 + 4 + 4
Yeah. Oh
is
yeah,
9.
8, 8, 9.
Um,
Yeah.
right? That's right. And even going beyond that, sorry to interrupt you. I had a friend literally message me the other day. He was at the gym and he was like, "Oh, I'm walker number 144 and I'm about to hit the gym." And I was like, "Oh, you actually need to rest." And
You
then
need to.
yeah, and then there was a sports injury scientist that is part of the group that we're anyway. We're part of that WhatsApp group, and he did his profiling, and it was unfavorable, injury-prone day for him to train that way. And I was like, "Numbers don't lie. You need to rest. Get the hell out of the gym."
That's interesting. So wait, did you tell him? Did you tell him that? That
He
that
went,
what'd he say?
Oh, he said I'm gonna take it easy.
Bruh. But did you take it easy though, or did you not? Like, yeah,
You can only provide, as a
ex
neuroscientist, there's a person, like I am neuroscience is really my field. I don't call myself an expert neurologist. I just know a lot more than more people, and I've done the due diligent research to kind of see that most things that I see that involve numbers actually check out. So it's like, it can't be just coincidence, right? It's kind of like lived experience and research.
exactly.
But whether people follow, it's not even advice. It's like, hey, I've done this research so that you don't have to do it. Here's what I found.
Yeah,
But you do you. Ultimately, you do you. And I value people's personal experience and what they signed up for.
exactly.
They
Yeah.
might need to break a leg to find out, hey, I really shouldn't train.
Right, yes, exactly, and that's something that I say frequently, like, we only take willing participants, like, we're here to like, I put the advice out here, so every week when I do my readings or whatever, you can choose to follow the advice that's in these videos or not, but, like, I did my job, you know what I mean? Like, I gave the information, but what you do with the information after that, that's on you. You know, somebody frequently asks me, tell me about the thing of free will. Like, is free will actually something that we have? And like, yes and no. You have the option every day to choose a path. You have the illusion that you have free will on things, and you can choose to decide like whether or not you're going to choose to wear the red shirt or the green shirt or go through the door one or 1,000. But regardless what you choose, like at the end of the day, you're still gonna end up where you're destined to be, when you're destined to be there, how you're destined to get there. Like, you might have
Like,
different routes, but, like, you're still gonna get but free I saw 444 on 444 at 444. Later, I discovered it meant resurrection like the phoenix rising. Would you say that's your interpretation too? For me, whenever I see that many 444s, it definitely feels like you're going through. Yes, it is slightly in alignment with it, but it definitely feels like you're being protected and guided into like a new phase of your life. For me, whenever I see 444, it's that you have an immense amount of um protection around you that's guiding you through. Really, honestly, when you see 444 a lot, it's like you're usually seeing it when you're going through a time of struggles, of challenges in your life, when something's like rough, and it should be a sign of reassurance to know that you are safe, not to give in to fear, not to feel like your fear is the lowest energy that anybody can be in. And I feel like I need to put that out there because I've been there. And don't ever feel like you need to be afraid of anything that you're going through right now, because it is for your highest good at the end of the day, and you are being guided, like cocooned, bubbled in it. Even though it may feel like your world's kind of crumbling in on or around you, you really are kind of being cocooned and bubbled through this process into your next destination, and and so, and that I will agree on that part as far as the kind of the phoenix thing.
I'm the same. I would say the same thing. The phoenix rising out of the ashes is the part that resonates with the number 4. I'm in a personal year 4 this year. And what I've seen is like everything that has a shaky ground or foundation, whether it's a relationship, a career related thing, or like my own behaviors, like around my health that just
Mhm.
doesn't is not steady, those are crumbling. Like those are really crumbling. So that I can create a foundation that really is
Solid.
solid, like the Roman roads. Remember we talked about the Roman roads
Yes,
that
yes,
brought
exactly.
times.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
So that's the energy of the 444 for me, at least in my experience this year.
Yes. Am I making this up? Did I say something about like something about I feel like I said something about this very similar to you, Val, about something about something about the foundations or something. I feel like maybe like, am I making this up? I feel like I said this recently, but that's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, is it
Yeah.
the foundations? It was about the thing about any leaks something about I gave an example about there being, like, leaks in the boat or something. If there's any figuring out where leaks in the boat or something are at. Yeah,
Mm.
that's what that was. But anyways, yeah, so
Same,
this
same vibe. Same
yeah,
vibe. Wherever there's when you're in different energy, whether it's today, your life path, whatever you're working on or you're seeing, for me, 444, it's like, okay, time to attend to the integrity of whatever in my life.
exactly. It's Emma. She said, "Yes, Val, both in the personal year of the 4." This is Emma. Hey, Emma.
Hi.
But yeah, anyways, what else you got to close
Oh,
out?
well, look. Well, I do want to say that as much as I'm fascinated by numerology, I mean, we haven't even talked about human design or astrology. Like, I'm really tapping into that, and I'm seeing the connection between all of
Between
them.
all of it.
I literally, there is like an interconnection between all of it. And then I can link it back to neuroscience, DNA type, like 3D stuff. So for me, I've got this extra, I guess, to play within, which I'm really well based in. And no, I think that's important, at least for me, to be grounded in that way. Like, because otherwise I'd be out there in the ether floating around.
Wait. I need to ask you this because I have a poll going on with other people who have a difficult time like staying grounded in their physical vessel. First question, do you find it odd to be in the physical vessel? Do you feel like it's clunky being human?
Absolutely. Like, absolutely. It's just such a weird experience. Like, throughout my life, I look at, how many times I've hated on my body or anything. And it's just like, it's all part of that. Like, just getting used to being in this physical vessel or, like,
Right.
trying to abuse it through crazy diets or just physical exercise to make it look, like literally treating it like as an inanimate object. So, in
Yeah,
that sense,
exactly.
very like, what the hell is this thing?
Yeah,
Let's use
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Whereas now it's like, oh, this is the thing that allows me to navigate in this reality and ultimately experience it. So what a gift. It's
Like an
kind of how I,
avatar. That's how I feel.
yeah.
I feel like yeah, like I'm like, you know. So the piggybacking question off of that for the poll that I have going on with especially with like the more 250 that I find, but is how were you born? Were you born naturally or were you born C-section?
No, I was born naturally. Yeah, I mean, naturally too. My mom was induced, but so I don't know what the hell they used for that. Probably Pitocin back in the day in these in Russia. But so there was something introduced into her body to make the uterus contract. But I came out vaginally, like a not a
Yeah, yeah.
cesarean.
So the other 5 that I have has this question to, out of you 2 are the only 2 that have been born vaginally, but like everybody else has been born cesarean section, like me, and those the research that we had that was brought to me was that those who were born cesarean section have all of their life force energy up to the upper chakras, and their lower chakra, like, they struggle to be grounded in this world because they didn't have that vaginal birth to push the rest of their life force energy through the rest of the lower chakras. So they're, like, very good with the upper chakras, which is why I always say, like, look, I can activate all the upper chakras. I mean, I have an abundance of that gift, but a lot of us have that overage of upper chakra energy, heart,
Well,
throat, crown, and you know what I mean?
yes, well, I'm a researcher, so I'm always going to bring it back to the research. So I've got 2 kids. One of them was a cesarean birth, and the other one was a vaginal birth. Okay,
Mhm.
so and of course, the one that was born via cesarean is a 5 life path. So
No, see?
and the one that was born vaginally is a 4 grounded foundations.
See, look.
And I'm sure if I looked at their human design charts, which, when I started looking at that thing, it looked robotic. I was like, what the hell is this robot? But now I can
What is
actually
this robot? What is
I
this?
can actually tell, which ones are defined, the ones that have energy, the ones that are clear. For me, the clear center is the head. So of course, like I'm out there. But
You have
but then
open head?
I have an open head and also an
Same.
open open spleen.
Yes.
But then for my kids, I need to look at that because that will further this research of whether the one that was born cesarean has, doesn't have the defined ground
Lower.
centers.
Yeah.
That would make sense to me. But anyway, this is the kind of research I've been doing, and I just find it super fascinating. But
But
I'm a
like,
researcher. Every time it checks out, like every
this is it.
time, the numbers check out, the human design checks out, and then even the astrology checks out. Like I've been looking at people's natal charts, and I'm like, oh, of course, they're like a life path 8, so like, which is all about abundance and
Abundance.
materials, like materials, the only number associated with material abundance, and then like all of their planets are in the second house. I'm just like, oh yeah, no, no, that makes
Resources. Right. I'm like, oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
so. When I'm not doing neuroscience, I get fascinated with all of this other.
Yeah, but it's because it all interlocks. Like there's an overwhelming, but kind of like what you said, the research on it though, it checks out. And again, like it's no coincidence that I mentioned the poll thing about the cesarean section, and then of course you have in your own life, like your own kids are the living proof and example of it. Is which one is Thor?
He's the 4, the grounded one, the one that brings the hammer down on the ground, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
Paul. And then the other one, he's a Sag. He's a Sag son.
yeah.
Freedom.
Yes, exactly.
And but I love that. I just really love that. And yeah,
Yeah.
we have fun together as a little fam.
Yeah, your little unit. I think it blends like an equal thing of the trio. It brings all the pieces together for you that you need. It's a nice thing, but that is hilarious. Again, that it really does check out. I have to add that to my poll of things because I too have been like squirreling away at the research for this of how it turns out, and every time I'm like, look, see, this is the proof of it. There is something to it. There really is something to it.
Absolutely. And I love that kind of research beyond just the normal, like, yeah, a lot of people are getting cesareans because of the push from the medical system, which is like outside the scope of this conversation. But a lot of people that are having cesareans really could just have natural births. But hey, we can go beyond that and say, well, your soul chose to be born that way.
Right, exactly.
It's like, it's such a vast field, but I love the research that you're doing and looking at all the other things, not just like, oh, well, the medical system failed you, that's why you had a cesarean. Because that's how I
Right,
felt for,
right.
but that's how I felt for Al, with my first after he was born that way. Whereas now I'm like, oh, that just from what you said, it completely makes sense in terms of his soul's purpose and evolution and all of that.
Anyways, I feel like we have hit on a lot of topics. This will not be our last live stream, but I I think that's all I have over here. That's all I have on TikTok. That's all I have on Twitch and YouTube thus far.
Awesome. That's good. We're just over an hour, so that's perfect. I can go back to baby Thor. Yay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on. Thank you guys for being here on TikTok. Thank you all for being here on Twitch and YouTube. And what else you want to say, Val?
No, just really, really thanks. And do your own research whenever you work with people.
Yeah, don't let everybody put hands on you. It doesn't matter if you're at church, like you don't need to have the pastor and the people of the church don't need to put their hands on you to pray for you. You don't need to go to the pastor to have them pray for you. Like you can pray for yourself, but don't just let anybody lay hands on you, whether you're in a church or whether you're in a spiritual retreat or community or group. Don't let anybody touch you. Protect your energy, protect your physical vessel, protect your heart, your mind, your soul, and clean your energy. Please use Palo Santo. Open the windows. Get some obsidian and tourmaline. Put them in the selenite bowl every night. It's not once a week. It's not once a month. It's every night. Cleanse your crystals so that they can protect you to the best of their abilities. And that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for next week's videos. Bye.
Mm.